founding fathers. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe. Andrew Jackson, first true redneck to ever occupy the White House. If you know Andrew Jackson's story, I mean, Andrew Jackson, they got to Washington on Inauguration Day. The party got so bad in the White House. I mean, I think the president actually had to leave. He didn't stay. And boy, was a cleanup after that mess. But his own vice president stood against him and wanted to tear the United States apart. I mean, we were barely 50 years old, and the vice president was fighting against the president. And John C. Calhoun wanted to tear the country apart, and he stood up at a dinner, and he gave a toast, Vice President Calhoun, in honor of states' rights and the right to secede and to nullify federal law. And Andrew Jackson, even being a Southerner from Tennessee, stood up, and he gave a toast, and he said, "The Union may she stand forever." Because he knew that God had done something special in the United States. We went through a very difficult period in our country. Our bloodiest war, brother fought against brother. We fought in our own land, and in our own states, in our own homes against each other. And more American blood was shed on the battlefields of places like Sharpsburg and Antietam and Gettysburg. Shiloh. American blood poured out. But we survived that. And we survived every struggle. 2 World Wars. Woodrow Wilson got us through the first one. And you know, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, I don't care, you got to admire what Franklin Roosevelt did, leading us through the Great Depression and through World War II. Harry Truman, I couldn't imagine a president today having to make a decision like that. Made the most difficult decision ever known to humanity. He made a decision. He's the only man to ever actually order the use of nuclear weapons against another country in a time of war. We've had some great men that have led this country. But I think we're getting to a point where leaders are failing. Where there's a failure of leadership throughout. And so, you know, when God reminds the people of Israel of their history, Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, we need to remember Washington and Jefferson and Jackson and Lincoln and Roosevelt. Yeah. Ronald Reagan. Men with integrity that stood for something. Didn't matter whether they were Democratic, Republican, Whig, Federalist, Anti-Federalist. It doesn't matter. The point is they were Americans. And they loved this country. And they stood for something. O my people, verse 5, remember now what Balak, king of Moab, consulted. And Balaam, the son of Beor, answered him. He said, that you may know the righteousness of the Lord. That's the story where God made the donkey talk. Now, let me tell you, when God sticks up for his people, and remember, Balak wanted Balaam to basically put a curse on the people of Israel. They call a curse down upon him. And Balaam, I mean, God gets his attention. He sends angels, and Balaam doesn't notice the angels around. And finally, the donkey says, whoa! He said, you need to take a look and open your eyes. We're kind of surrounded right here. There's some guys who want to talk to you. And God changes the whole direction right there. We don't know how many times God's intervened in our history. On behalf of our country. On behalf of our people. We better know that God, the hand of God, as our founding fathers are called, the hand of providence, has been upon this country from its founding, even until now. That's right. We're here for a purpose. And so then, Micah asks the questions. Wherewith shall I come before the Lord? And bow myself before the high God? How? What can we give back to God? That's the question. You know, you fill up an offering plate. Some churches, I guarantee you this morning, whoo, if you could have seen the checks and the cash that was laid out. I mean, some churches, it's big business. I mean, you could have watched maybe a church program this morning, somebody's sitting back there, but you know, at the phone desk, and they're taking the credit cards as people are making their donation and buying whatever products they're selling. shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves of a year old. So should we bring offerings? So of course we bring our offerings into the storehouse, our tithes and our offerings. But that's not what God wants. That's only part of the story. Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams or with 10,000s of rivers of oil? You know, is it the more that we give, if we can just give more and more, I mean, will that buy God off? And maybe if we build really nice churches, really nice places of worship, and we have really nice programs, and you know, and I mean, anybody who's been in the National Cathedral in Washington? Lauren, you been there? Okay, beautiful place, isn't it? Which one of you went to the the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir? Beautiful place. Oh, we got some beautiful places of worship. I'd love to go to Salt Lake City and see what the Mormons have got built there. I mean, it'd be some great places to take a tour. But that's not what God's asking. He's not asking for more and more billions and more money. Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression? Because remember, back in the day, some people were sacrificing their own children. Yeah. Oh, just take them. I mean, throwing them into the fire for some god named Molech. The fruit of my body for the sin of my soul. That somehow, that you could sacrifice your child, and your child could cover your sin. No, it's not what God.
Oh dear.
He has showed thee, O man, what is good. And what doth the Lord require of thee? But to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. I'm going to tell you,
Come on.
if people could get this in their soul, we wouldn't have Aurora, Colorado's. We wouldn't have Columbines. We wouldn't have shootings down in Timerson Square. We wouldn't have people getting offended at birthday parties and walking in, you know, because somebody punched them and they felt like the only way they could fight back was, you know, pull a gun. We wouldn't have 21 murders in 3 days in our large cities. Do justly. Same word as being honest. Treat people honestly. I'm going to tell you, one of the reasons that society is crumbling around us and we got this is because we got too many people who are dishonest. Amen. And too many people who are dishonest, who are liars. Now, I'm not going to pull punches. We have too many people who are dishonest and who are liars in positions of authority, even in this county. Amen. Right. People who will defend criminals. I mean, it costs the county even more money defending criminals with their own system than defending victims and people who have been victimized by criminals that they've stood up for 10 years. They got to go. If they're not willing to do justice on behalf of the people that they're called to serve, then God has no use for them. They've got to go.
Amen.
There is no doubt. And may my prayer be that God, I don't care what party they call themselves from, if they are not honest, if they are dishonest, if they lie, if they stand up for crime, if they stand up for hurting people, if they're making things worse in this county, they are not servants of God. They are not servants of people. And may God have mercy on their soul and take them out now. Amen. Because they're not doing any good. They're doing harm.
Amen.
To love mercy. Kindness. Loving kindness is the word. A word that comes from a Hebrew word called hesed. God's loving kindness. God's mercy. You know, there is a time to show compassion. I was listening to a minister this morning, and the text was from Mark chapter 6. And Jesus and the disciples had just finished resting. And they were trying to kind of escape the people to get a little bit more rest and get some private time. But the people followed them to the other side. They got in a boat and they went to the other side. But the people followed and they walked, and by the time that Jesus and the disciples got there, the people were there. And Jesus looked on that crowd. And instead of saying, no, it's not time, we can't do anything for you now, there's not much we can do, Jesus looked on the crowd and he was filled with compassion. Because he saw real need there. He saw people who were hurting. He saw people who were sick. He saw people who were broken. He saw lives that needed a healing and a repairing.
Come on.
And no matter how tired they might have been. And did Jesus get tired? Absolutely, because he was in a physical human body. He lived our experience. Did he feel pain on the cross? Absolutely, because there's no way a human body could not feel that pain. Anybody that tells you any different, they don't understand. He bore that pain for us.
Amen.
And so Jesus sat him down and ministered to him. And then of course we know what happened later in the day. It got too late. He had to send them home, and they're all hungry. And we know there's 5,000 men, plus the women and children. And Jesus said, well, they're hungry. We got to feed them. And the disciples said, well, all we can come up with. Think about it. All we can come up with. 5 loaves and 2 fish. Oh, but don't you know little is much when God is in it?
Amen.
Don't you know little is much when God is in it?
Amen.
So when Mother was singing the song about David, I started thinking, say, yeah, David against Goliath. Little is much when God is in it. And they took those 5 loaves, Jerry, and they took those 2 fish. And Miss Juanita, you know what happened. They fed them until there was leftovers. And everybody was fed.
Come on.
And then Jesus and the disciples got in the boat. They wanted to go back to the other side. People heard about it there. They heard about the miracles. There was more people to meet them there. It said that they were just reaching out. Jerry, because Archie, they were so desperate for some healing. They were reaching out just to grab the hem of his garment. Bobby, that's it. They just wanted something. Sometimes that's all people want. People need somebody to help them out. Somebody that will stand up for them in their time of need. Well, Jesus shows the example. And then finally, to walk humbly with our God. Oh, we live in a society that glorifies me. It's a self-glorification. It's about ourselves. That's why Paul could write to Timothy, in the last days perilous times shall come, where men shall become lovers of themselves.
That's right.
Disobedient to parents. You can go through the whole list. It's a total breakdown of society. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad this church has started its revival this week. I'm so glad that Cheryl's bringing the folks that she's bringing Wednesday night. I hope every one of our youth come, because a lot of them come from some very difficult situations. Not all of them have, all the modern niceties and conveniences that a lot of kids have. Not all of them have families that have raised them and have loved them. But I want them to be here because I want them to hear 2 stuff. We get a little entertainment and a lot of good preaching. There you go. And some good singing, right? But you see, we got to walk humbly before the Lord. When we win our softball tournaments, the ones we win, there's always a great joy at the end. A satisfaction. When you're standing there in the last tournament that we won, and Rachel and Rebecca were both playing for me, and they said, and the winner, the first place trophy goes to Chaos 1600. And I don't remember who went out. I don't remember who went out and got the trophy for us of the girls that were playing. But I saw the smile on their faces. They go out and they get the trophy. They know they've accomplished something. There's nothing wrong with feeling good about accomplishing something. But in the end, everything we have, whether it's your talent on the softball field, whether it's your calling to get up in the pulpit and to bring God's word, whether it's a song that you got, that you sing, that touches